Hello students, so welcome to the class for today. So we can start the class today with the analysis of the ratios. Now students, before I come to the application of the analysis of the ratio, I have to be very specific that in order to understand this analysis of ratios, you need to have a very strong idea about the pre-seen material because it is very critical for the students to understand how the applications generally work in the examination. So students, today, if you observe already the calculations has been done. So once again, there is nothing to worry if there is a difference in the numbers, but you have to be very much concerned with the application because the application matters a lot when you are coming to the writing part. Now, students, if you observe in this case, now the first calculation that we have done is the application between Mango shares and our company Happywell. Now, if you observe the revenue growth we have is 6.19%. And if you see Mango's Airlines, it's just 1.85. Now, students, I just want to look at the size of the revenues. So the revenue turnover size is quite similar. If you see, it's on 20,000. And even if you see here, it's on 20,000. The size is quite similar, but I just want to observe the size of the organization. Now, the share capital of Mango shares is 1,000. And let's assume how much is our company share capital. Now, if you see Happywell, the share capital is 2,500. So students, if you do not mind, you can make a note about that because we determine the size of the company generally based on the share capital value, not based on the asset value, students, the share capital value. Now, students, in this case, if you observe the share capital value and the share premium value combined together, our company, which is Happywell, is 2,500. And students, if you observe one of our competitor, we are only having 1,000 students. So it's very important whenever you are analyzing the financial statements, always analyze it based on the size, based on what students? Size, which is very important and essential as well. Now, students, coming into the detailed understanding, if you see, the share capital of Mango shares is 1,000. So I'll just write a note here. Mango's Air, that is our competitor, the share capital is generally 1,000. And if you observe our company, which is 2,500. Now, we already know the main reason why our share capital is generally higher compared with the Mango Airlines is very simple logic. The simple logic is very clear, students. That is, if you see our company, we have own charter flights. If I'm not mistaken, we have own charter flights. That is very clear for the entire students. And then another factor to be concerned is after the charter flights, we do have own hotels and resorts as well. Hotel and resorts as well. Now, if you observe Mango shares, they are not having the same size of hotels and resorts like ownership. They are working on a contractual basis. So one of the main reasons why our revenue base is very high is we generally have more revenue potential. Do you understand what I'm saying, students? The revenue potential is generally high because we have revenue from charter flights, which belongs to us. We have revenue from hotels and resorts, which belongs to us as well. So students, can I get a confirmation in the chat box if you understood why our revenue base is very high? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? Because that is a very analytical review that the students needs to have it. So students, I'll just make a small adjustment for this. This was the example I gave you. So I'll just change this and make it practical so that it will be clear. The share capital value is generally determined to understand the size of the organization. Correct, no, students? Because your organization size is based on the share capital value. In this case, Happywell is having a share capital of $2,500 million. And if you observe, students, Mango's Air has a share capital of 1,000. this is mainly due to Happywell owning hotels and aircraft as well. Also, they have high revenue growth since the revenue potential is higher. Revenue potential is higher compared with Mango's app. So students, can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you understood that point of view, students? Because that is critically important, that the student needs to understand the point of view as well. That is critical, students, because we are huge compared with our competitors, because we determine the size of the organization generally based on the share capital value. So it itself shows a bigger revenue stream at the moment. So students, if you observe, the cost of revenue has grown significantly. But if you see here, the cost of revenue growth is less. Cost of revenue, another term we can say is cost of sales also. Now, if you see here, the cost of sales is very low for Mangoes. And as you know, it is very clear that they do not have ownership of hotels. So their overheads are generally under control. But if you observe our company, we do have hotels and resorts, which belongs to us. And also we do have aeroplanes, which belongs to us. So effectively, we are having more overheads compared with our competitor, Mango's Air. So I will just write it down here. Since the cost of revenue has also grown in higher proportion, not in proportion, in higher proportion compared with revenue growth of Happywell. Correct, no, students, because it is higher. This is mainly because of having own hotels and resorts, where the maintenance cost is higher as well. Also, there are events to be organized as well. And during the off-peak season, still the cost needs to be incurred. That is the biggest issue. However, Mango's Air does not have that issue, since they do rent out hotels based on the demand and the season. Therefore, it is a good model for cost transformation. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you understood this clearly, students? Because this is how the business works. Now, this is what we have to do in our companies also. When you're working in an office, we have to analyze it specifically to the office. We have more fixed cost as usual. It is clearly mentioned. So I think we did that in the analysis. So students, coming to the gross profit. Now, if you see, the gross profit is going down. We have not made a loss, but the gross profit proportion has reduced. But if you see our competitor, the gross profit growth is very higher. Again, if I'm not mistaken, students, the main reason for that is something called operational gearing. It's a technical term, students, operational gearing. So I'll write it down here. It will be very easy for you later to understand. So operational gearing means, students, it is the fixed cost. You divide it by the total cost. Example, if the fixed cost is 700 and the total cost, that is the fixed cost plus the variable cost, that is 700 plus 300 is 1000. So out of 1000, if you are having 700 as a fixed cost, 70% is operational gearing. So if your fixed cost is dominating your total cost, there is a risk. When there is a demand drop, the company will have to face a huge cost that needs to be paid due to unavoidable cost. So students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you if you understood what does operational gearing mean? Because hotel is not only our operational gearing element, even aviation as well. We have to pay money for the pilots. We have to pay money for the engineers. We have to pay money for the cabin crews also, despite there is demand or not demand, because there needs to have a capacity of 211 seats, I think so. So you have to make sure that you come up with cost transformation model. Definitely in the exam, CGMA cost transformation model will be tested. So can I write a note about that, students? CGMA cost transformation model. Students, 100% it when come to the examination. So can you please write a note about that? Because if you observe, considering the current situation, we have to transform our cost, students, in order to compete well with our competitors without making a loss and improving the sustainability of the business. Now, students, coming back to the application, let's start work into this. The gross profit is declining mainly because of the cost incurred in both aviation, hotel, customer experience, I can say finance and IT. Finance and what, students? IT. Since the cost centers are becoming more fixed cost rather than variable. Now, I have to ask a question from Dr. Sharmin, if you don't mind. Dr. Sharmin, there is a proposal, let's assume, like work from home. Is that a good proposal for our staffs, work from home? Because indirectly, student, no, you are saying because IT staffs, because do we have a direct contact with the people like finance, IT, all these like BPOs, right? If I'm not mistaken, Dr. Sharmi, they are not
IT
directly
can work from home maybe, but not the hotel and aviation.
not hotel. I'm talking about the customer experience, finance, IT.
Yeah.
Because generally, if you
No.
generally see, we have to pay money for them. The building cost is there. So many things are there. So that is one point of view I have to just tell you. Anything that can come, students. So just remember your examination as a management accountant. Your challenge in the exam day will be how can you transform? Don't go with cost cutting. Go with cost transformation. How can we transform the cost into more sustainable point of view? So that was one suggestion point, students, because 65% of our booking is coming from online and 35% is only effectively coming from what, students? Physical stores. And step by step, that proportion will shift into the online stores also. So students, can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box? If you are fine with this explanation, students, can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box, students? Because we have to understand the responsibility centers at the moment. And students, just again repeating, those who are watching the recording, everyone, just for your understanding, page number 16 to page number 17, very essential for you. Page 16 and what, students? 17, I'm going to say, please analyze. Don't read, please analyze, because that is your area where they will be testing in your examination as well. So be very vigilant in that section. Now, students, administration cost, if you generally observe, it's 5.61. But if you observe here, the administration is 18.52. Now, students, if you observe, the biggest problem we have with our administration is Elham is managing most of the operations. So indirectly, it's a cost cutting, right? Doctor, what do you think, doctor? Yes or no? One operation director handling all these things. Correct, no, doctor, if I'm not mistaken.
And also these are all cost centers.
Yeah. And students, if you see in the other point of view, their administration cost is comparatively higher than us. The idea behind that is they would have done a segregation of duty. That means for an aviation, they would have a separate operational director or one director in charge of aviation and one director in charge of hotel booking. Now, if you see our one, overall, everything is done by one person. So students, can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box? Because motivational issues will come. Because students, when one person is given more number of works, which he can't manage it, the quality of his work will reduce. So you have to be very, very careful in the examination when these type of questions come. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students, if you understood why the administration cost is comparatively higher in the other organization with here? So can I get a confirmation from
Sir,
you?
I
So
have a
I'll
question.
Yes, please.
So it's not higher, it's lower.
Is it lower?
Yeah, it's minus.
Yeah, it's minus. Sorry, it's minus. It is minus, right?
Yeah.
It is minus. So here it is higher, right? If I'm not, the drop is higher.
Drop is
Correct.
higher, but it is like less administration cost for Mongoose.
Correct. It has gone down. So I can say, thank you for that, doctor. Thanks a lot. So I can say one more thing, if I'm not mistaken, Mongoose Airlines would have focused some automations, if I'm not mistaken, chatbots, like a digital transformation where communication is done even faster and better. Maybe that, where they would have reduced the processing speed or processing operation by reducing the headcounts and focusing on more into automation. That's a good point. So students, once again, a small error. This is minus, sorry, it's within brackets. It's a drop. I'll just reconfirm that to you all. Now, students, 961, 907, it has fallen down. So I'll just write down here one small point because that the administration cost has fallen in both entities. Correct, no, students? Yes or no? In both entities, the administration cost has fallen in both entities. Get that practical factors properly. However, in Happywell, it is less compared with Mongoose. Therefore, we can understand that Mongoose would have undertaken cost transformation such as automation for chats and also outsourcing functions to third party as well. Therefore, Mongoose have achieved their success in cost reduction. Students, can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? So even in that, Mongoose is only winning. Thank you for that. So that is the point of view. So can I get a confirmation from you all, students? Thank you. Thank you very much with that point of view. Now, students, coming to the next one, selling and advertisement. Now, selling and advertisement here is 2.52, if I'm not mistaken, and here it's 3.93. But if you observe, students, if you see our destinations are larger. We are in 28 countries, and I think we are in 83 destinations. So it's very large operational scale, and we have to increase more, if I am not mistaken. But if you observe here, the marketing and selling and advertisement is comparatively less. The main reason is this company does not need to go to the extent of our business because they do not own any hotels. So they need not do any advertisements for their hotel, any transformations for the staffs, nothing like that. So that is the main reason that if you see, Mongoose is effectively having a less growth in the selling and advertisement, but we are having a higher growth. But if you see, the selling and growth is 22%, but our revenue growth is only how much, students? 6.19. So do we have an efficiency, students? Can I get a observation there? Now you see here 22.52 cost in selling and advertisement. Revenue is only 6.1. But if you see here, students, our competitor 3.93, but effectively has taken 1.85 students. So effectively, if you see, it is a good growth considerably. Can I get a confirmation from that, students, if you understood that efficiency in the selling and advertisement, students? Because that is a very, very important point of view. When you invest in marketing, when you invest in selling and distribution, you need to also ask yourself a basic question: what is the conversion rate? What is the conversion rate? So initially, I'll write down here the basic introduction. Since Happywell has a higher scale of business, has a higher scale of what, students? Business, has a higher scale of business, they have to advertise more. Since hotels plus charter flights and also local retail stores and cost of reps and travel advisors as well. So the cost is higher. But when considering the conversion rate, understand it very clearly, students. This is a very, very important point. Conversion rate, the efficiency of sales cost to sales revenue is less. And for Mango Sea, the efficiency level is higher. Maybe they are targeting well. Example, the school holidays in Westland plays a critical role. Since it may affect the revenue. Therefore, how much the targeting is narrow, the better the sales. Full stop. Students, can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you understood that point of view? School children are very, very important for our business. Get that very, very well. School children are very, very important. They influence their parents, students. Because if the children like a destination, they will be the first people to influence the parents. And if the marketing doesn't target the children and target the adult, then again there will be another mismatching. There will be another mismatching. Actually, your real customers are not the parents. The real customers are the children, because the children are the people who influences the parents. Once again, get that point of view. Now, if you observe here, students, the operating profits are going down, but here it has significantly gone up. If I'm not mistaken, students, I'll just prove it to you. Now, you observe here 211, and you observe here, students, from 211, the growth is 547. Students, 211 2 times is 422. So it has gone up a lot. So students, can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? The Mango shares is operationally doing very, very well. Their sustainability point is very good. For the shareholders, it's very good. Because students, EPS growth will be very high when the operational efficiency is good. So the shareholders will be more happy to work with Mango share, despite they're not so strong or bigger like the company of us, but still they're doing very well with the operational efficiency. So I'll write a note below this. The operational cost the operational cost has reduced. The operational cost has reduced significantly. Sorry, the operational profit. The operational profit has reduced significantly. Has reduced significantly. Therefore, there is a chance that the shareholders may be concerned about the inefficiency. Students understand it very, very well because shareholders will be concerned about the inefficiency. Compared with Mango share, the efficiency level is higher. Compared with Mango share, efficiency is higher than Happywell. Mainly due to cost transformation and reducing the overheads into more variable cost. Therefore, they have the operational sustainability. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you got that point of view of operational sustainability, students? Once again, I'm repeating, students, that operational sustainability is a technically important point for the students to understand what you have to concern. Excellent. Thank you very much, students. It is wonderful here. Now, students, coming to the financial cost, if you observe, both the companies' growth looks like almost similar, because if you observe, students, both are operating in the same country. And if you observe one thing, students, if you see the bank loan, there's a 50% increase from our competitor. And if you see the loan from us, there is only a 16% increase from our end, if I'm not mistaken. That is our company. We have just made a 16% increase. The main reason is we are little having a higher level of gearing, if I'm not mistaken, because our gearing is almost 27 times, but Mango shares is 18 times only, considering at the moment. So the finance cost looks similar to both the company, because interest is generally a industry-wide known figure, because interest means market rate only. There is a similar range of interest cost, mainly due to the transparent rates as well. However, Mango share has increased. Mango's share has taken 50% more loan from the existing loan balance, maybe to make sure they exploit the tax deductions as well. Full stop. Students, I believe that is very clear for you all at the moment. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you got that point of view, students? Because that is a very, very important point. Then we have the profit before tax, the taxation, and the profit for the year. Now, if you see, I can combine these three together. The main reason is, students, why our profits are declining at the moment is we are anyway exposed to a seasonal demand. Everyone knows it, students. Example, our first two quarters, we are not doing very well. The last quarter, the quarter 4 and the quarter 1, it's not a good quarter for us. So anyway, students, how you manage the success in your profitability is how you manage the cost during the off-peak size. So I'll write down here, students. In summary, the understanding is that the business of tourism is affected by seasonal demand, such as climate and the school breaks. Therefore, in that case, there is a major factor to be considered by Happywell. How they are going to manage the fixed cost and achieve sustainable profit. Example, lease out the hotels. Students, can we lease out the hotels? Can I write down here IFRS 16? Students, can there be a possibility that we can lease our hotel to a third party? Students, can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? Students, these are like examinable in the examination because we have so many hotels and we are sometimes having no customers also. So just keeping the hotel without customers, you can lease it out, right? Students, lease the hotels. The other one, lease the charter flights, lease the charter flights, lease the charter flights. You need to revise a small concept, students, sale and lease back. Sale and lease back, we can just have a review of that. Don't worry. I will make sure that technical content, I will help you all. Don't worry, sale and lease back also. And then students, if I am not mistaken, students, another point of view is outsourcing functions. Outsourcing functions, we can do some outsourcing functions. Automations is possible if I'm not mistaken, students. Disposal also possible, students, because certain hotels we can dispose also, because if we are not having any long-term opportunities. So these are the critical ideas behind the explanation of the financial statements group. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are fine as a finance manager with the clarity of what we have to get from the outcome? This is only known as the research outcome. We did the research, we did the quantitative research, we find the qualitative factors, and now we are with the research outcome. And the research outcome is very, very clear that we have to give these things as suggestions to the management where they have to take the actions. Now, students, I have done a small analysis on the statement of financial position. Now, intangible assets, if you observe, students, 4.41 reduction, and here 2.38 reduction. Now, students, one of the intangible asset we have to see is WTOL, that is Westlandian Travel Operator License, is a intangible asset. Correct me if I'm wrong, students. Yes or no? This is an intangible asset. Correct, no, students? Possibility. Now, this is an intangible asset. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are fine with that? Because let's brainstorm the informations first. Now, in a practical point of view, you can't eliminate this WTOL because it will affect your going concern. You can't do the business properly. So be very, very careful. That is one intangible asset for us. Now here, if you observe, students, I'll just come to the idea. Here the intangible assets are reducing. How can an intangible asset value reduce? If you do not mind, can you please tell me, students, what is the reason that we call it as impairment loss? Students, can I just write down here impairment loss? Can you please mention here IAS 36, impairment loss? Example, students, some of our hotels would have been impaired. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken, the brand value of the hotel, the locations of the hotel. And if you observe our competitor, Mangoes has a very high loss in the intangible assets. And one more reason can be disposal also. Students, can I write down here? Disposal of assets, students, because when you are disposing a company, there are chances also that also can go down. So can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are aware about that point of view, students. And another point of view, if I'm not mistaken, is publicity, students, because publicity can also affect the business reputation, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe everyone has got a clarity here. What are these factors? So can I get a confirmation first if you're okay with the point of view thinking? Point of view thinking, because there is a drop, students. There's a drop, but our competitor, that is our Mango Share, has a very larger proportion of drop compared with ourselves, a very larger proportion of loss. Now, students, I have to write down some explanations so that it will be clear. The Mango Share has a higher proportion of reduction in intangible assets. Also, their admin cost has reduced well. This may be they have disposed some business divisions like IT department and outsource to third party. And outsource to whom, students? Outsource to whom, students? Third party. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are able to understand that point of view, students? Can I get a double Y in the chat box if you are clear with that point of view, students? Thank you. Thank you very much, students. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's very, very different way of thinking. Now, if you see, our company did not suffer much. Now, asset, if you see, we have just a 9.24 and there is no revaluation. But if you observe, our competitor has 13.35 also. So if you see, our one is proportionately higher, the proportionately low, but asset base wise, it is high. So I can just write down here, the companies needs to reinvest in the facilities as well, since this will help sustainability. This will help sustainability. Therefore, the company has a higher responsibility on maintaining the asset. So students, I believe this is perfectly clear for you all. Nothing to worry here. It is perfectly clear as well. Now, students, coming to the inventory. Now, if you see the inventory also, students, there is a slight growth. But if you see here, it's 7.33, the inventory growth. Now, inventories are generally, students, if I'm not mistaken, one is the food for the hotels. Now, we have a hotel, but our competitor doesn't have a hotel. And another inventory is the aeroplane equipments, if I'm not mistaken, students, because can you remember there are hangars where the repairs are taking place. So I can just assume that the inventory is managed extensively higher for the safety reason by our competitor in this case. So I'll write down here so that it will be very clear. Inventory consists of aviation. I'll write down here spare parts for charter flights. Charter flights. That is clear, no, students? Spare parts for charter flights. And hotels, if I'm not mistaken, food and other consumables. Correct, no, students? Towel, everything is other consumables. So students, can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box if you are clear with that, students? Aviation and the hotel. Now, these are the inventory base we have. Now, students, if you observe the explanation for Mango Share, the inventory count is higher. Although they only have what, students? Aviation function. They only have aviation what, students? Function. Therefore, the company is having a better stability in maintaining the flights. So students, that is a very, very, very important point here. However, when comparing with Happywell, they have ensured the experience. So they maintain a less number of stocks. They have experience, so they know this is what will happen. They are not going to take that risk of normal loss increase. Then students, if I'm not mistaken, trade receivable, very minute students, I can't even accept there's a increase in that. But if you see it's 1.27, now trade receivable is students, if I'm not mistaken, the commissions, what you need to receive from the travel agents, because sometimes they may push you or promote you, or for that you will get some of a bit of commissions for giving services to them. So in this case, students, the good thing is digitalization. Since 65% of the customers can directly book through internet, the elimination part of travel agent has effectively been seen. So I'll write down here. Generally, the travel agent will pay commissions for rendering services. In the case of current situation, due to development of internet, due to development of what students? Due to development of internet, the elimination, look at the verb here students, the elimination of the travel agent can be witnessed. Correct, no students? Yes or no? Can be witnessed. Where the customers are directly booking from the travel agent or travel operator, in package. Full stop. So that is one reason here. And then students, the bank loan, if you see the bank balance, actually, there's a slight increase. It is generally one thing, students, we have only money that is retained for working capital. So I'll write down here, the bank balance is generally for the working capital purpose. For what purpose, students? Working capital purpose only. Working capital purpose only. Therefore, only a slight amount is maintained. Only a slight amount is maintained. So that is also done. And students, if you observe the loan here, now 16.67 and here 50%, I'll write down here, the loan has been increased to benefit from the cheaper interest costs, to benefit from the cheaper interest cost, for the firm. So that is also one more factor. So students, I believe we have done a very, very strong type of analysis at the moment on the growth factors. Now, growth, if you are very strong and stable, the ratios factors will become very, very, very easier for you all. So students, any questions you like to ask, you can ask me. If you are fine with this, can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box, and then we can go to the ratio analysis. We can go to the ratio analysis as well, and we can finish the full analytical part. Excellent. Thank you very much, students. Students, don't worry. The same thing what we do in the class, you can do it at the office also. So this is not only for academic purpose, this can be used for your official purpose also. Thank you, students. Now, students, now we have the competitor data with gross profit margins. If you see, our gross profit margins are higher compared with Mango Share. The reason is we give more value. Correct, no, students? Definition of value is we are a vertically integrated model. Can you remember that verb, students? Vertically integrated model. That means once the customer books from us, he doesn't have to worry about anything. The reason is most of the important essential services are taken care by Happywell. But if you see Mango Shares, they do not have that type of convenience. So that is the reason their gross profit margin is comparatively less than ours. Can I get a double Y in the chat box if you got that business ideology? Why we are eligible to charge more compared with our competitor? That is what is important, students. The Y element is very, very, very important. So I'll write down here. Happywell business model is very much vertically integrated. Look at the verb here, students. Vertically, what, students? Integrated business model, where the company will be able to provide the best service. Understand it very clearly. The best service to the clients. The best service to the clients from flight to hotels. From flight to what, students? Hotels. Students, I believe this is extremely clear for you all at the moment. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are clear with that, students? From flight to the hotels as well. So that is a practical point of view at the moment. So I'm going to continue writing this more in detail. So that it will be even clear for you. Therefore, the value is understood by the market. So they are happy to pay more than competitors' rates. Come on. On contrast, Mango Share is only providing charter flights. But not hotels. Therefore, still, they don't have the control of the essential service. They don't have the control of the essential services. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? If you are fine with that, students? Thank you very much, students. Thank you very much. Now, students, that is the rationale behind it. And even if you see the operational profit margin, if you observe, we are higher compared with Mango Share, but the reason is the growth was less. But the margin is very high. The reason is also very clear now, students. The reason why our margin is very higher effectively is the values we give. So I'll write down here, per service, the operational margin is high. Per service, that means per travelers. For one traveler, the operational margin is high, since we collect more revenue from the customers due to the values we have generated. What, students? Generated. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are understanding that point of view, students, due to the values we have generated?
I have one question, sir.
Yes, please.
We are generating value more than Mango, sir. I agree. But one thing that I'm looking at is we are worse off in 2022 compared to 2021.
Okay.
Will we not consider that?
I will come to that. I will come to that. Because
Right.
now I have not completed this explanation. But what you're saying is perfectly correct. The reason is now I am doing analysis per revenue because margin is per person, no doctor. Correct, no doctor. OP margin means if you're having a pen, for one pen, how much margin you are allocating is only the idea of these ratios. Correct, no doctor, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So the explanation here is per customer, we have maintained it, but in total, we are not maintaining it. Are you understanding what I'm saying, doctor? That is only you're saying, right? Correct, no, doctor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
That
it has
is
gone down.
yeah, total accumulation, it has grown down, but still per customer, still they have maintained it. Are you clear with that, doctor, if I'm not mistaken? Thank you. So students understand it very well. So it is per. So I'll just highlight this service per service. Per means one. So I'll just write it down. It will be even easier for the students to understand. One. Now, one BMW car operating profit margin. One BMW car. But overall BMW car sales may go down. So I'll write down here. However, in the total numbers, there is a fall. In the total numbers, there is a fall. Maybe due to not having diversity in sales. Since all destinations are how many hours, students? Are 5 hours journey. So can we have a huge diversity, students? Can I get a double Y in the chat box if you understanding that? That means that is how this business would have got affected if I'm not mistaken. So that is one more factor to get understanding. And also I can generally say, since family customers may have a budget, they may also feel Mango shares is fit for the purpose. Students, like Budget Airways. How did Budget Airways become successful? They targeted the middle class and the family audience. Correct, no, doctor, if I'm not mistaken. Yes or no? So the normal flights, the margins are high, but Budget Airways margins are low. But in total, Budget Airways perform better than the normal airlines. That happened in India. Jet Airways closed down because of the emergence of the Budget Airways. So students, can I get a double Y in the confirmation if you understood that, students? Because family audience, when you have 3 children, it's very expensive, students. 3 children, very expensive. 1 child is fine. 3 children, very difficult, students. So that is one more factor. And net profit margin, students, if you observe, now, if you see others are fine, but net profit margin, if you see, students, the drop is a little higher, if I'm not mistaken. And again, the main reason is they have reduced a lot because of increase in operational overhead. So I'll write down here, Happywell has experienced a fall in the net profit margin. Since they have too much of administration cost and other overheads. And also, they have subsidiaries operating in other destinations. Full stop. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are fine with that, students, because that is one important factor. So I believe you all have got this point of view properly. And now, students, ROCE, then we have the ROI. Now, if you see ROCE is for the overall capital employed and the ROI is for the shareholders only. Now, if you observe once again, students, the ROI And the ROCE, if you observe, has gone significantly higher for Mango shares. But if you observe here, for our company, it has gone down. Do you feel that, students? For our company, it has gone down. But for Mango share, it has gone very, very higher. The main success for that is their cost transformation. So students, I'm going to combine that together and I'll just write down here the ROCE and ROI has fallen for Happywell. However, for Mango's Air, the growth is higher. The growth is higher. This is mainly due to the business model of having cost transformation and flexibility in the cost. Flexibility in the cost. And also increase in the number of passengers, number of travelers due to less profit margin. Students, I believe that is very, very clear here. Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you have understood that point of view properly? Can I get a confirmation from you all, students, if you are clear with that explanatory point there? Because that is very, very important to understand. Now, if you see the current ratio, students, it's a point, it's on point, 2:1, 1:2. So I'll just write down the technical norm is quick current ratio should be 2:1, 2:1. And the quick ratio should be 1:1. But in this case, students, it is very relatively less. The reason why it is relatively less is the question mark. Can you all remember, Doctor, advance payment? Students, there is something called what, students? Advance payment. Do you see here, students? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? If you are fine with that, students, advance payment is there. Agree, no, students? Because this industry always operates in advance payment. And who takes care of this advance payment risk is WTOL. Because can you remember, students, when you pay in advance for these organization who gives tour packages rather than dynamic packages, now the good thing is, in case if the business liquidates, that means get closed, there is high chance that WTL will reimburse back the money to the customers. So students, can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box if you are able to understand it? Technically, the judgment is high risk. Businesses are at high risk. They don't have money to pay the liability. That is the interpretation. The greatest learning of CIMA is you can beat ChatGPT, because ChatGPT at the moment will tell these two are high risk. So don't invest in this company. That is the only biggest achievement you can get. But as a human being, you know, technically correct. It's a risk. But business point of view, this is the industry norm. So this is like a case study answer what you will write in your exam day. So I'm going to write in purple color. Purple color is the royal color. So I'll write down here, technically, the current ratio and the quick ratio are less. Therefore, both the companies have the problem of liquidity. They have a liquidity problem. However, in the travel sector, this is the industry norm. Understand it very, very clearly, students. This is what norm, students? Industry norm. Can I get a double Y in the chat box if you are clear with this point of view, industry norm? Since 10% deposit is essential, 10% deposit is essential. Can you remember that note, students? They gave 10% deposit essential. And the balance needs to be paid within 2 weeks before the flight. Therefore, this is the norm. And WTOL protects the consumers from the risk of default. Full stop. Students, this is what is essentially important. Can I get, I think everyone got what I'm meaning there. So your examination, your answer should be technically strong. You should write theory. Students understand it very well. You should write theory. And then you need to argue the theory. I will write it here. You need to write the theory and argue the theory. Can I get a double Y in the chat box if you understood that, students? Write the theory, argue the theory. Write the theory, argue the theory. Because writing the theory is important and argument of the theory is more important. Because argument makes you stronger than the artificial intelligence. Thank you very much. Now, students, if you observe the gearing ratio, if you see it is optimal level, they have maintained. And I think both the companies have a high borrowing capacity considering this. So I'll just write it down, students. The gearing ratio is fine. And both the companies have the borrowing capacity to increase. Therefore, in exams, for WAC, there will be a question on WAC. This factor is essential. This factor is essential. Students understand it very well. One question will come on WAC. What we need to do? We need to go for a share issue or we need to go for a loan issue. So in that case, WAC element is there. So can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you are able to understand that point of view clearly, students, because that is very, very interconnected. Excellent, students. Now we do have something called the interest cover. And if you see the interest cover of our competitor has gone up, ours is little less at the moment. The main reason is the downfall in the profitability. So I'll just write down here, students. The interest cover has dropped. For Happywell, since there is a downfall in the profits, therefore, the application of how to improve matters. Further, this can reduce the credit score as well. Because students, our competitor has doubled the interest cover. They have double 13 times the capacity to pay the interest. So in that case, also it's a clear understanding something there needs to be an improvement. Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you are clear with that point of view, students? Can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box if you are fine with that, students? Any questions you like to ask, you can ask me, but I believe it is perfectly clear from your aspect. Thank you very much. Now, the next thing we have is the asset turnover, 2.95, 2.92, 6.55, 7 times. So if you observe, even you see the asset turnover is technically higher, right? If I'm not mistaken, for our competitors. But for us, the main reason our asset turnover is going down, flights are going at underutilized capacity, plus the hotels are sometimes having a very much few occupancy rates. So I'll write down here, the major assets for Happywell is the hotel and aircraft. Therefore, we need to understand there are chances the flights may be not fully occupied, not fully what students? Occupied as well. And hotels too. This may be a reason. This may be a reason. This may be a reason as well. We'll stop. Now, students, working capital, inventories are very low because if you see students, here it is 7 days. Can you remember, students? So you can predict your level of inventories that is needed. And the trade receivables, if you see, students, it's the money that is collected from the travel agents and also from the online, I can say, payments from the payment gateway. So effectively, it is also controlled. Just 7 days only, your money will be tied up and you are delaying your payables, like your suppliers for vegetables, everything, 30 days time is there. So cash problem is not there, students. Now, working capital ratio minus means, observe it very clearly. Inventory plus trade receivable, this 2 plus 5 is 7. That is the cash cycle. Your cash is inventory. And your inventory converts into receivables due to credit sales, and it takes 5 days to collect money. So you collect money within 7 days in your business process, and your suppliers who gave you on credit basis, they have given you a time period of 29 days. That means for 21 days, you have money which you can invest in your bank account to get some additional interest. So can I get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you are clear with this logical application? Can I get a double Y in the chat box if you are clear with this? So cash problem is not there, students. Cash problem is not there. Understand it very well. And travel and tourism business, students, frankly, it's cash bottle business because advance payments, can you remember, students, advance payment model? So effectively, I can say there is no proper cash issues. So I will just merge it together. So I'll write down here the travel sector. The travel sector operates on advance payment. On what payment, students? On what payment, students? Advance payments. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are clear with that verb, students? Advance payment. On advance payment. On advance payment. Therefore, the cash issues are less. The cash issues are less since the cash cycle is very few days. Cash cycle is only 7 days, only 7 days. And the suppliers generally give more time. Suppliers generally give more time, So there is a payment gap, which helps the company's cash position. Company's what position, students? Cash position. So students, can I get a confirmation from you all? I think it's very, very clear. And the dividend payout, students, 53 and 51. How did I calculate it? Very simple. Now I'll do it for Mango Share. Now you see, students, now in this case, the profit for the year, if you effectively consider, students, the profit for the year is 393. The dividends is 204. So 393.9, if I divide it by 204.8, sorry, please excuse me. The profit for the year is 393. That is very clear, no, students. And of that profit, the distributed dividend was only 204.8. So in that case, students, if you multiply it by 100, it should give you somewhat around 51.99. So that is the effective dividend payments that you have paid. So students, you are retaining 50% cash and you are giving back 50% cash as well at the moment. So that is the dividend policy, and effectively it's on the industry standard. Both are listed organizations. So I'll write down here the dividend payments, the dividend payout is based on industry standards, based on industry what, students? Standards. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are clear with these explanations what we have mentioned at the moment? Because that is very, very important, very, very essential that you are understanding it. So I believe, students, we have done a very, very strong analytical review of our business. And please remember, our business is an advance cash business. We collect money in advance and then we effectively spread it. So IFRS 15 revenue contracts is a very, 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 very important topic in order to pass the examination. So students, I believe everyone is extremely clear with what we have written at the moment. So can I get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you are clear with all these explanations, students, what we have done to the moment, because that is effectively important. And understanding is very, very important. Cost transformation model is a practically examinable area. It's a CGMA model developed by CGMA, like CIMA Code of Ethics, CGMA cost transformation model. So students, I am going to start with a one-to-one feedback session. So I will start with Ms. Gugu. Any questions for the day? Mr. Jose, any questions for the day?
Can you explain sales and repurchase?
I will explain in another class because it's a full class. I will do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Jose, other than that?
No, nothing.
Thank you.
Lost all. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Pavitra, any questions for the day?
No, sir, except for the sales back and the lease, which will be explained later, right?
It will be a separate class.
Yeah, okay, sir. Other than that, everything is okay.
Manuma, any questions?
No, say thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Kin, any questions?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Linon, any questions for the day? Mr. Mohammed Ferdos, any questions for the day? Dr. Sharmin, any questions for the day?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sigvalisi, any questions for the day? Okay, so students, thank you very much. And don't worry, students, technical content, I will do it. And I will connect it to our business application as well. So thanks for your time, students. I will meet you up on the next class, which will be on the Thursday, same time, students. So have a wonderful evening, students. Good night, everyone.